I'm Kimberly Turner from cookingwithkimberly.com, and today I'm doing a little bit of kitchen gardening. Now, I planted a whole bunch of things. I was out till midnight last night still planting because today it was going to rain for 3 days, so I'm glad I got my seeds and my little plants out there. But I have a couple days downtime, and now I need to get my seed potatoes ready. Now, if you didn't know, Harvest Barn Country Markets, both in Niagara-on-the-Lake and in St. Catharines, carry seed potatoes. Now, seed potatoes are not the same thing as regular potatoes. They're actually for seeds, for seeding your potatoes. You can't just buy like little tiny seeds. This is how your seeds come. And each one of these little eyes that springs these little beautiful little green vegetation out of it, this is going to be a plant, each one of them. So I have to prepare these. I have a whole bunch of different kinds. I don't even remember all the names because I just put them all together. And I've got to prepare them. So you can either plant these directly in the ground like this, but why would you do that when you'd get 6 plants coming out of one little place, right? So what you actually do is you slice them to have one eye on each one. Now, the reason why I said I need some downtime, 3 or 4 days, because once you cut this open, you need it to form somewhat of a scab. If you put it right into the ground, for instance, let's just cut one right now. If you put it right directly in the ground like this, with that all open like that, bugs and things are gonna go in there, it's gonna rot, okay? That's not what you want. What you do want is that to form a protective layer. Now, you can leave these by themselves for 3 days and just let them dry out. It's not going to look real pretty, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. You want to accomplish the goal. It'll be papery, kind of leathery feeling. But what I also do is I add some sulfur. Not only do potatoes like sulfur to grow, but the sulfur, it discourages insects and the rot, etc., right? No fungus. We don't want that. So I'm going to show you how to cut these. And I'm seeing, this also saves money because if you have potatoes with more than one eye, that's a whole bunch more plants, right? So we're just going to do that. We're going to cut this. There's another eye over here. So now I have one plant with each part, okay? And I'm just going to rinse and repeat. I have a whole bunch of different kinds. I'm not even exactly sure, like I said, but we're ready to go. So I'm going to cut some more of them up. And I'll talk to you about what I'm going to do after that. Try to cut in between the eyes. So see that? Now I've got little pieces with one little sprout coming out of each one. See that? Nice, right? Now I was so pleased to see these guys. They carry probably about 4 to 6 different kinds of these potatoes. And I was so pleased to see them. I've never seen them there before. So we're planting potatoes. Now the scab that you need to form on these guys, the leathery skin, it's going to take about 3 days, okay, to dry up a little bit. And that's okay, that's exactly what you want. Now you're wondering, because I'm sure you've seen your potatoes that you buy in the bags that you actually eat. You don't eat these are not for eating. The bags though that you buy of the potatoes at the store, the grocery store that you buy, sometimes they grow little sprouts too. Now, there's 2 schools of thought. Some of our produce is treated so that they don't sprout. They spray the potatoes, or they treat them somehow so that they don't actually sprout these little eyes, and it keeps them, you know, fresher longer for you to eat in your bag. Now, if you plant that, and you actually do get some of them, because you find them on lots of them. I know they say they're treated, but they create these eyes. You're going to get a potato plant. Now, as to the quality of potato or the kind of potato, I don't know what you're going to get. But it will definitely make a plant. And if you're in a pinch and can't find seed potatoes, I mean, go ahead and try, right? Now, each of these plants needs to be planted about 1 foot apart from each other. So estimate how many seed potatoes you need, or how many eyes you'll need that are sprouted for the amount of area that you have to plant in. Now, I got this garden sulfur at my store today for only a couple bucks, and it's a fungicide for flowers, fruits, and vegetables, and this is one of the great uses of it, okay? So the way I'm going to do this is you can use a paper bag, or you can use any bag you want, okay? And I like to just put them all in here, and I'm going to ever so gently shake them around so I don't break the little eyeballs. I'm going to shake them around with the sulfur. Just like you would do like shake and bake for dinner, right? Now, I'm a little late in my season, but better late than never, right? I should have been having these in the soil quite some time ago, but you know, life gets away on us, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I can plant these once now, and I can also plant them again in like August for another really late harvest. So that's gonna be great. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some in, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon or so, and we're just gonna cover it up ever so gently. Now, I'm gonna let these guys hang out. I just have some like little plastic bins that have holes in them so they can kind of breathe. And you want these guys to create a scab. Now, it's just coated, you know, it's just coated in the sulfur. No big deal, right? No big deal. You can do this too. Again, you can do it without the sulfur, but it sure does help a lot. Who doesn't need a little bit of help? In my opinion, the sulfur also helps it dry out a little bit, the cut side. You don't want to just put that in the ground wet. Now these potatoes should have probably gone in within a couple weeks of the last frost in your spring, and you want to plant them a little bit deeper to make sure that they don't get hit with that frost, but we have no problem with frost now. Okay, let me finish the other ones. Now when you plant these guys in the ground after a couple days and they've scabbed over, see how these guys are going straight up? That's how you want to plant it in the ground, with them straight up, okay? So if one is kind of going sideways on you, whatever, you want to make sure whatever is straight up, okay? However it is you plant that. And I'm just going to repeat on these other ones. And then we're just going to chill out for a couple days until we're all ready and I get my soil prepared and the rain has stopped and I can get these guys in. And we're going to have a bounty of potatoes to harvest this year. It's pretty exciting. Sprinkle a little bit more. There's no real science to it. It's like cooking. Okay, so now I've got these perfectly coated, sulfurized potato eyeballs from the seed. Now I have very minimal sulfur left, and I'm going to just dump that in my garden where I have my cabbages and things to, you know, discourage these bugs and any kind of fungus going on. Cool? So that's how you get your seed potatoes ready to plant. And I guess I might show you this back again in 3 days when I'm going to check them out so I can show you what it actually looks like. But right now, this is what I have. They're going in my back hallway so we don't smell the sulfur all night. And that's it. So, we'll see you then. All right, everybody. I'm ready to plant these potatoes. And they've scabbed up nicely, just like I wanted them to. They dried out on the insides. They're no longer wet. I covered them with that sulfur. And now I'm ready to prepare my ground. Now, next to it, I planted some cabbages and kale and things of that nature over here. But right here is the patch where I'm going to do some potatoes and alongside the back. So you don't need to see the back part. But right here is going to get some really nice sunshine, and it's going to be nice and somewhat dry. It seems to be drier here in the soil. So here's my potatoes that I prepared the other day. And they're ready to go in the ground. So I'm going to prepare this ground first. You guys don't really need to see that. I'm going to get some of the weeds out, and then I'm going to dig it up and just get it nice and loose. I'm going to show you the potatoes that I've used here. I've cut them into pieces, the seedling potatoes, making sure there's at least one eye on each little piece. And I've covered them in sulfur and let them sit for 3 or 4 days. We've had some really nice rainfall, so the soil is ready. Other things are springing up, and it's ready to get these guys in the ground. So I'm going to get this soil prepared, and I'm going to see you guys in quite a little bit while. I'm going to do this area here, this patch, and it's going to go along the back side. You don't need to see the back. But this area is going to get some nice sunshine, and the potatoes are probably going to do pretty well here. So we're going to see. Get it ready. See you soon. Okay, I've just finished taking out all the grass and shaking out all the soil. It took me almost 2 days because this whole area is a place that's never been used to plant anything, and there was still grass in it. So I had to pull everything and be very diligent because some of those tap roots for the weeds are that long. So I used this handy dandy tool, and I was very, very thorough in getting it out. Now, what I'm going to do is I have some extra topsoil because I want to enrich the soil slightly because this is kind of, you know, lacking in nutrients. So I'm going to mix this in, probably, I don't know, 6 bags or so. That's what I've got. And I'm going to use a shovel to just mix it all in. I've loosened the ground about that deep. You want these potatoes to be nice and deep, okay? So I'm going to mix that through, and you'll see me then. Okay, that's done. Now I'm just going to take a rake and smooth things down so that I can get ready to plant. What's great about this area that I'm planting the potatoes in is that it's on kind of a hill, on a grade, so it keeps the soil somewhat drier underneath, and that's great because you don't want to waterlog your potatoes. So it's fabulous that it's a little bit higher than the rest of everything. If you have a flat area, you can use raised beds, or you can make furrows with mounds and plant them inside the mounds to keep them a little bit drier. Okay, I'm pretty pooped, but it's the moment of sweet satisfaction, I call it. That's when you actually get to plant. You've done all the hard work of getting the soil ready and everything like that. My potatoes have been sitting for about 4 or 5 days with this sulfur on it. Make sure that you check that other video out so you know what's going on. And now each one of these is going to go about a foot apart, and they're going to go at least 6 inches deep into the soil. You want to try and keep, if you have little sprouts that are coming up like this, you want to put it in the soil just like that. You don't want to put it sideways or upside down. You want to make sure that you fix that. So this one here, I'm going to put in the soil like this way. Okay, so that's what's going to happen now. I'm going to do that every 1 foot or so, all the way through. And I should have about at least 50 plants, I would say. So here we go. So you're going to put it 6 inches down, and then you're going to loosely pack that soil on top. Make sure you know where that one was so that you can do it once every foot or so. So I have my measuring tape out just to make things easier always. And it keeps things nice and uniform and pretty when you look at them all planted in a row properly when they start growing up. Oh, the sweet satisfaction. I'm keeping them slightly off the walkway because that's where the water is going to pool if it does get wet. And now the soil is really easy to dig into. So on my second row I'm measuring 2 feet from my walkway and 1 foot away from each other. Now that's how you plant potatoes. I've done 2 rows now. You don't need to watch me do anymore. I'm going to finish the rest of this before it gets dark. And that's how you do it. Now potatoes like nitrogen-rich soil, also the sulfur that you use to coat them, it likes it in the soil as well. It keeps the bugs and fungus and rot away. So that's my sweet satisfaction, and that's how you plant potatoes. Well, it's the fall here, and our potatoes grew beautifully this year. The plants were about this high. Every single plant grew. They all came up relatively quickly. Like within a week, they were already above the ground, which is amazing. So I've already dug up a couple of these guys because tomorrow it's supposed to snow here. These plants have been dead for 2 to 3 weeks, and that's what you're kind of looking for. You want the plants to be completely dry, and this is what they look like right now, okay? So now is the time to harvest these potatoes. So I've got some gorgeous, beautiful potatoes, and when you go and you pick them out, there's a whole bunch of them in where you put the 1 seed potato. There's gonna be like 4 or 5, maybe 6 potatoes. We got some like this, we have some small ones too, but they are lovely, and I actually cut into a couple of them with my shovel accidentally, so I sliced them. Be careful with that. It's hard to see now that everything's dead where everything is, and then the dirt, you know. Anyway, do your best to try not to cut through them. If you do, make sure you use those potatoes ASAP, quickly, okay? So I'm going to show you what's going on here, and I'm going to have to finish this whole yard today. So grab your shovel, and you're just going to dig down where they were growing. It's also a great time to turn over your soil and pick out any nasty weeds that you don't want. So I'm just starting near the edge so I don't cut into my potatoes again. I planted them roughly every foot apart, so you should be able to guide yourself accordingly. And lo and behold, here's another potato. Now I planted a whole bunch of different kinds, remember I told you. Here's a nice little red potato. So you're gonna get a number of potatoes from one plant. And they're gonna be all various sizes. So here's an example of this one plant providing us with like 10 potatoes. I can't even pick them all up. So here's a bunch of them, okay? That's how you grow potatoes. Very cool. This is my first year doing it. And it worked out perfectly. We'll likely have potatoes for the whole winter now. You have to keep them nice and cool and dry. So these will go in our fruit cellar. My ground is relatively loose since I cultivated it in the spring. There you have it. Beautiful, big, giant potatoes. So I'm going to work my way from one end of the yard to the next end. And I guess I'll show you some pictures and maybe some video of all the potatoes that I harvested from one season. Okay? So that's how you do it. See you in a little while. So that's my sweet satisfaction, and that's how you plant potatoes. That's it, that's all. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at cookingwithkime with a capital E. Like the fan page at facebook.com/cookingwithkimberly. My shows are on ifood.tv/cookingwithkimberly and youtube.com/cookingwithkimberly. And my site is cookingwithkimberly.com. That's it, that's all. Be a champion in your kitchen and eat deliciously. Bye.